Hi, and welcome to Spiral of Time. I am Z, your time reader. So, this is okay. First things first, I am starting with the Earthcraft Oracle, and I'm just going to shuffle them. Okay, so I got on here initially to read about, again, the season of autumn. We're currently in Virgo season, so we can kind of consider this a Virgo season read. And the title of this read is Don't Trash Up Your Recycles. And you're probably like, don't trash up your recycles. Like, I mean, I think it's actually pretty clear. But really, the word recycle it kept coming to me. So I was trying to figure out, like, okay, like recycles, like what are we talking about recycles? And it got me thinking about how we've pretty much, like, we're in Virgo season, we're hitting like harvest time where the earth is almost giving back to itself in a way. And then I started thinking about acorns and how acorns are the fruit of oak trees, and they return back to the earth to create new oak trees. So in a way, it's almost like it's the energy of recycling, which I think is very significant for what Virgo season and autumn season really represents. And I think to better understand that, to understand the energy of recycling and to understand what is trash and what is not trash, I'm going to use the cards here today to just clear that message. Okay, so please give me 3 cards. I'm just going to choose three oracles today to get into this message. Shuffling skills could use a little bit of work. Oh, first card that came out was Medicine Woman. Interesting. I'll show you guys the card. Medicine Woman. Card number 1. Let's see what else comes out. I asked for 3, but sometimes I'll be asking for like a specific number of cards and they almost never come to me in that way. So we'll see if 3 even comes out. Sometimes it just be 1 card that wants to come out. Sometimes it'd be 2. I think it depends. I'm almost thinking now maybe it's just 1. Let's see, do you have any more oracle fusions for Don't Trash Up Your Recycles, Spirit? Any more oracles for Don't Trash Up Your Recycles? I also wanted to mention, I can't remember when tropical Virgo season ends, but I'm almost certain it's where it would be like in the middle of tropical Virgo season. So I study astrology and I study both sidereal and tropical. It kind of depends on the circumstances of like kind of what's going on. Okay, so this is the only card that wants to come out, so we're gonna stick with this. So we have Medicine Woman, and Medicine Woman, I believe, is a very powerful card. One, it has to do a lot with healing. It has to do with the ability to heal yourself and then the ability to heal others. So that's really the main message for Medicine Woman. And if I'm quiet, it's just because I'm thinking. And then I also have my tarot cards here, which I'm going to use to kind of clarify this message. So in relation to autumn and don't trash up your recycles, this card represents Okay, this is how I'm going to explain this. I would consider this to have to do with the mind. So, we're in autumn, we're talking about the medicine woman, we're talking about Virgo, we're talking about what we're recycling and knowing the difference between what we are allowing into our lives, what is meant to be in our lives, what can be recycled into our lives, and then what needs to actually be thrown away, what you need to get rid of. So this season is the perfect time to almost go through your little checklist in your head of, things that you may have added into your life this year, over the past few years, months, whatever the case may be. And you need to determine whether or not those things are serving you or not serving you. So to look more into what those things are, I'm gonna pull some tarot cards. I'm just shuffling the cards here. Now, I'm almost, whoa. I'm almost positive all the cards are faced up. I honestly have not checked. But if they're not, maybe they weren't meant to be. So Spirit, please give us some, there we go. Okay, so on the bottom of the deck, we have the moon. And the cards that fell out, we have the Seven of Cups, the King of Pentacles, and this card, Gateway to Meditation. So I consider this card as a portal. So it's an entrance. And the way that I would look at this is that Medicine Woman is the entrance. So these two things coincide. These two things coincide. So we're using our ability to heal ourselves as an entrance into our kingdom. So the King of Pentacles is the energy of someone who is very well nourished. It's the energy of someone who is fruitful, someone who not only has enough resources for himself, but has resources to spread throughout their kingdom. And what that really means is that that's someone who recognizes their own potential, who recognizes their strengths, who recognizes how to kind of get things done and then to do those things. So in order to create anything on this earth, we need water. So here we have the Seven of Pentacles. And as you can see here in this card, the man is looking at a tree with the Seven Pentacles, the Seven Cups behind it. So when I kind of look at this card and I put the messages for these together, it's almost as if the King of Pentacles sees what's happening within the water. And ultimately, the kinds of ultimate healing that we have for ourselves happens in water. Water is where all of life is created. I want you to think about a deity. Her name is Auset, and also known as Isis, I believe. But Isis is Auset. I like to call her Auset. It's just what I know her as. But Auset is the Auset is the water. She is the water where all of creation happens. So when it comes down to keeping the King of Pentacles in this lush environment where there is many fruits, many food, where there is just an abundance of life around them. The water has to have life within it. So if our waters are infected by illusions of the moon, see, we have the moon on the bottom of the deck. So these are the things that are in our waters, that are deep within our waters, that we have to extract almost. And the medicine woman goes in and she's almost like a surgeon. She goes in and she extracts with what's within the water that doesn't need to be there. So when we're thinking about our waters and we're thinking about what we're extracting, okay, in order to understand this, you have to understand exactly what water is. Water is information. Water is literally information. Think of water as a divine code. And think about what happens when codes get infected, when they get bugs and viruses and all that kind of stuff. It's not as clear as it was before. So those things have to be taken out. And the way that we're looking at this is that a lot of what's happening here is actually all happening within our minds. And Virgo allows for us to come forward and to see what has been planted within our minds. We have the Seven of Pentacles that came out. This is actually kind of beautiful. There are a lot of, so far we have 2 sevens here. Well, we have 7, then Medicine Woman, which is card number 17, and the King of Pentacles. And then, of course, Gateway to Meditation, which is really just a portal. It's a door. It's almost like, I would consider it a door into water, is a good way to look at it. So the Seven of Pentacles is almost like looking at what you have built, and it's just like, wow, like you're almost beginning to see what is kind of coming through. So at some point we have to be able to see what's coming through our waters, because ultimately the energy of earth is always connected to our waters. And then we have the Sun and the Strength card, which just showed themselves. And that's interesting. That's an interesting combination, because the sun is what we see. The sun shines light on what we see. And then the Strength card is almost like you need strength to be able to do this, because strength is not given. Strength is the blessing of having courage. And I think that's a message that I almost needed to hear from myself. I'm wondering if that came out for me or if that came out for the reading. But strength is a blessing that comes from having courage. It comes from having courage of facing our water, facing the things that come up in our water, and clearing those things out and doing the planting. Honestly, and doing the planting. So when I think about don't trash up your recycles, think of it as water. Because, okay, you can recycle your water. You know, we see how rainwater can be used to water the earth. We see now we have many methods of collecting water, whether that be rainwater, whether that be figuring out how we can reuse water within our homes through modern technology and whatnot, the things that we have today. So it's really just kind of about not wasting your time not wasting your energy and really diving into these pieces of yourself. Hold on, guys. This is interesting. So I just had the Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups is on the bottom of the deck, but what just came out was the Ten of Swords, the Emperor, and the Fool card. And these came out together. And hold on. I need to rearrange these because this is not in proper order. Okay, so this should be like this, 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 that, that. It should be like this. I'm just need to, I can't read them unless they're situated as they're meant to be situated. Okay? So like, okay, here we go. It's interesting that here surrounding the Emperor, we have the Ten of Swords on one side, and then we have the Fool on the other side. So this almost goes to show that one thing always leads to another. The Ten of Swords is an ending. It's when something comes to a close. And with that being the swords, it has to do with what comes to close in the mind. Virgo season, autumn season, is really and truthfully about the cycles that we end within our mind. It's about going into our mind, which requires us going into our waters, which requires us becoming our own medicine woman and healing those pieces of ourselves, healing those infectious thoughts, the things that don't serve us as we enter into our new season, because then we have the Fool. And the Fool card is about a new beginning. It's a new journey. It's one that requires trust, which I know someone probably almost consider as like having blind faith, but it's not necessarily blind, because ultimately you know exactly what you're looking at. We have, the Seven of Cups and the Seven of Pentacles on the spread here. You know exactly what you're looking at. You always know what you're looking at when it comes to what's going on in your mind. You don't need anybody else to tell you what doesn't belong there and what does. You know what a healthy thought is versus an unhealthy thought. You know what healthy habits are versus unhealthy habits. It just takes us having the courage to actually examine those things within ourselves. And that a lot of the times is where I think a lot of the trouble comes in, because we don't necessarily, as humans, always want to face the things that we don't like. When we look in the mirror and we see something that we don't like, we don't really want to face it. We don't want to go into it. We try to avoid it. And The emperor is not allowed to avoid anything. He's the emperor. The emperor is the one person who has to deal with everything. The emperor has to deal with everything. And the emperor is just it's our masculine principle within ourselves. So I was getting a bit tongue-tied here and was having a hard time explaining the emperor. But basically, we're talking about what holds the body of work, the body of water. It's the literal content of anything, including the content of our minds. The emperor has the full picture of what is happening within ourselves in relation to not only themselves, but to the universe as well, which allows for the full picture to come into divine alignment, organized through both spiritual and material law. Think of it like this. The emperor would be the masculine principle within you. That principle is your foundation. So your masculine is your foundation. It's the law that you uphold within yourself. It is the representation of, because the emperor is the ruler of the universe. And then the King of Pentacles, think about it, is like the ruler of the earth. So he's the king of earth. And then we have the king of the universe. Okay? So your universe, we're talking about your masculine principle, your universe. Okay? The masculine principle of the universe. That piece that is the actual foundation. Not the person who created from that foundation, which would be the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles would be someone who has created from that masculine foundation, which is the groundwork that the universe has given us in order to create from. We're all here on the universe, okay? I hope that made sense. But ultimately, with this, I was really just trying to say that we're talking about here what holds the water. And it's so interesting because the connection between like air and water, you know, the air being our mind and then the water being us, in a sense. The air is, okay, completely lost what I was gonna say. Completely lost what I was gonna say. Let me get my notes, hold on. Ooh, child. Okay. We have the Six of Swords, which is a bridge. The Nine of Cups. And the Three of Wands. So this is interesting because we have, whoa, Shawty needs more space. Let me move this all up so I get more space. We need more space, Shawty. Shawty. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. The Six of Swords is the bridge between the material and the spiritual. The Nine of Cups is often known as wish fulfillment. But I also think that the Nine of Cups represents the coming of the creation of water, the creation from water, excuse me. So the creation from water is fire, which then brings me to the Three of Wands, which is almost like grand design in a way. And it kind of just goes to show that a lot of what has to happen here is that in order to bridge the material to the spiritual, both of these sides of us have to be properly cleansed. So, okay. Now I'm starting to see where this is going, okay? So look, this has a lot to do with our baggage, number one, okay? The main, I think, message for autumn season is about our baggage. What are you carrying with you? Does it need to be thrown away? Or is that something that you utilize in your everyday life? Is it something that has practical use to you? That practical use is what you would consider as recyclable to you. But what's recyclable to you is not going to be recyclable to everyone else, because we each have different needs. And that's why it takes for each of us to go into our own waters on an individual level and to begin recognizing what belongs there and what doesn't belong there. And I mean, this is also something that should be also done on a physical level, because when we're talking about the material and the spiritual, we're talking about going in and cleansing our waters, releasing our waters from the bad vibes. Essentially, it's about releasing the water from the infections, from its diseases, from the viruses, the bacteria that has made its way in there over the course of the year. We're coming into fall now, so we should be able to have almost a full picture of what we have allowed into our system that way. And when things seep into the water, we're able to kind of recognize how those things have manifested into our physical environments. So when we're looking at our physical environments and we're looking at the world that we see with our eyes, we have to come to understand that there are things within that part of our world that also have to be cleansed. So this cleansing is happening on two sides. On two sides, you have to determine what you are recycling and what you are throwing away. For instance, say that you are cleaning out your closet and you have 40 million clothes, you have 70 pairs of shoes, but you're only one person, and you have 70 pair of shoes, and you have all this stuff, just all this stuff. But is that stuff serving you? You wear every single pair of those shoes all the time? You need all of these clothes, you need all of these dishes, you need all of the whatever it is that you have. And I'm not even just talking to you guys, like I'm also talking to myself, because I recently went through a period in my life where I had to cleanse not only just my waters, not only just within my mind, but I had to cleanse within my physical environment. I had been packing because I'm in the process of moving and whatnot, and I was so overwhelmed because I don't know how I accumulated so much stuff. And half of the stuff, I'm looking at it and I don't even know what it is. And I'm like, well, why do I have this? Why am I holding on to this? Like, what exactly am I holding on to? Do you recognize what in your life is trash? Do you see the trash in your life? Because when you really go within yourself and take a serious look at things, not even just like, it always starts within. honestly. I say that it always starts within because once I started going within myself and realizing like the habits and just things that weren't necessarily serving me in my everyday life and like serving my mental health and stuff, I realized that a lot of those things were connected to things that I was holding on to in my physical environments. And when I began realizing that and making the correlation, I started getting rid of those things. I started letting those things go. And then, excuse me, I had to burp, I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden, I started seeing that as I'm letting these physical things that are within my environment, these pieces of whatever that I was holding on to, as I'm letting them go, what's happening within my mind, what's happening within my heart is finally clearing itself. It felt like weight had been lifted, and it felt like the things that I have now are things that are actually mine, things that I were meant to have. And you know, I may not have a lot anymore. I may only have a few things. And even still, like as I'm going through some of my stuff, I'm wondering like maybe there's a little bit more that I could be doing. Maybe there are a few more things that I should be getting rid of. And it's really just taken me, like, mind you, it's taken me about a month and a half to even come to this whole conclusion. So this entire time, as like, then I'm just talking about my personal experience because it's really the only thing that I have to kind of share with you guys here. As I'm looking at like my own life and like what I have been going through over the past month and everything, I had just come to understand that I think, you know, people, we hold on to a lot of stuff. We hold on to a lot of baggage within our heart, a lot of baggage within our mind, and a lot of baggage within our physical environments. And each of these things are connected. They're all connected. So you have to really begin looking within yourself and asking yourself the hard questions and then facing them. Because once you begin facing these little pieces of yourself, and once you go in and you do all that Virgo work, because we're in Virgo season. Virgo season is about analyzing. I have a prominent Virgo placement, Virgo Venus. So I understand the energy of Virgo because I'm someone whose mind is kind of always chattering. My mind used to have a lot of noise, and I am being like 100% honest with you guys. When I started cleansing my waters, like my internal waters, and like as things came up, I made sure that I was releasing them. So let's say that I had a really bad reaction to something, which happened to me a lot because I sometimes don't have the greatest reaction to things at all. It took me to actually acknowledge the fact that, you know, my reactions are, excuse my language, I can't curse because I can't curse actually on here. So I realized that a lot of my reactions were just not in alignment with who I actually was. I was emotionally responding to things that I didn't need to emotionally respond to. And it's because I still had baggage. I still had things that I hadn't worked through, things that I had been avoiding, that I had been almost hiding from myself. And as I'm going through my physical things, I'm finding things within my mental space that were hidden from me, that I had hid so that I didn't have to face them. That wasn't me being the strength card. That wasn't me having courage. That was me being a coward. That was me running away. But ultimately, if you spend your time trying to run away from facing the truth, which medicine woman forces us to do. She forces us to face truth, because when you go into water, you have to face the truth. You can't create if you don't face the truth. If you don't truly face the water, nothing will ever manifest. You will never become the King of Pentacles. You will never connect to the Emperor. You will never create that bridge. You will never start your journey as the Fool. You will never connect to the Three of Wands, the idea of fire. Fire is a creation. Man-made fire. Fire is a creation. Fire is not just the element that just like is just here. We have water, we have earth. There's air all over. Fire requires some kind of, I don't know the exact science, but you all know what I'm talking about, okay? I know what creates fire. Please, I'm not a science teacher, okay? I'm not a science teacher. But my point is that the idea of fire is a creation, and water transforms into fire. Fire is your action. It is that groundwork. And that's part of what the Emperor represents. The Emperor is the energy of, the Emperor is almost like movement in a way, because I consider like fire to be we're talking about something that heats up here. So when something heats up, we know that it's circulating. So it almost becomes like the Emperor almost becomes our circulation that helps to move us across our bridge, that moves us between our spiritual and our material realms. It helps us to keep the energy in order to be able to do so, because it creates a foundation of energy for us to work with. And I think that was the message for Don't Trash Up Your Recycles. I hope you all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos. This was my very, very, very first read on live, and I'm excited to do more. I'm excited to grow and to get better, just as I kind of explain these systems and whatnot to you all. So I hope you guys really enjoyed. This is Spiral of Time. Again, I'm Z, and I can't wait to see you guys back here very, very soon. So take care, be safe, and don't forget to make that list. It doesn't have to be a literal list. It doesn't have to be like something you physically writing down, unless that's how you operate. I'm a Virgo, so that's how I'm a Virgo. I'm not even a Virgo for real, y'all. I'm partially a Virgo, okay? I'm actually a lot of different signs. In all honesty, I would consider myself a person who is every single sign. And some may not agree with that, some may not understand it, but when you're a person like me, a dynamic person, you kind of are all the signs. I feel like part of what I have done, because astrology is my passion, but I'm still a student of astrology, like a very, very, like I'm a student, and I am trying to determine how I want to present astrology. So that's something that I'm kind of currently working on and whatnot, because when it comes to astrology, I want the information to be extremely informative, and I want it to actually help, connect you to your astrology, because astrology is a magical tool. It's a magical tool. The same way the tarot is a magical tool, and the same way that the oracle is a magical tool. And one thing for me that I kind of recognized, like, throughout this whole, because this message is a message that has been creating within me for like the past month. And it had to do with like facing, the energy of hoarding. And the energy of hoarding is not necessarily like what you just see on TLC when you be seeing like, or like, or clean my house or whatever. Like those are like extremes. But the energy of hoarding is actually something that's within us that prevents us from like letting go of things that don't serve us anymore. And we're in Virgo season. It's time to write those things off. Like, oh, nope, send that away. Next, send that away. Signing this off. Bye-bye, bye-bye. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a part of what Virgo season represents and kind of what the energy is all about. So take the time this autumn season to allow the sun to shine on your waters so you can see where those pieces of trash are. Go get them out. Go scoop them up. Get them out of you. Remove them. You can literally go into a meditative state, use your imagination, and almost imagine yourself clearing out your water. And the more that you do that, the more you connect to the visualization of clearing out your waters, you'll begin to realize that slowly over time, those waters will get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner until they're pristine. And then at that point, your Virgo season, your autumn season becomes just about maintenance. Instead of like you doing these massive cleanups. You won't have to do that anymore because once you get them out, they're gone. Once you heal that part, it's healed. It doesn't come back to you. And I'm speaking from experience. I thought that I would be dealing with the same things in my life over and over and over. I thought it was going to just continue. But that's not the case. The case is that once I actually faced what I needed to face and once I handled my own stuff, it went away for good. And I didn't have to keep going back to it and keep picking up those same pieces of trash. Like, those trashes have been properly disposed of. They've been properly disposed of. They're gone forever. There is no coming back. So once you begin to understand that, your spiral of time, it changes, it evolves. It becomes a spiral of evolution. Your time becomes evolution instead of you always spiraling within the same problems, trying to heal the same traumas, trying to keep closing up the same wounds. Baby, let that wound close. Let it close up. Okay? Let it close. Let it heal. Make sure it's healed, take care of it, tend to it. When it is time for you to tend to your waters, tend to your waters. In a minute, we're going to be entering winter season. Winter season is a whole different ball game of like what's going to be happening and whatnot. So, and I'm on the northern hemisphere, so I'm speaking in terms of like the northern hemisphere and like with the seasons. But if you're on the opposite hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, then that means that your autumn is different. It's in July or something, right? Or is that winter in July? I can't remember exactly, but it's something like that. And if that's the case, it's a little different, but it's still Virgo season. So you still got to do what Virgo, season does. But it probably would look a little different because the temperature will be different. So, it'd just be like a little bit of a different connection to things. But ultimately, that's the message that I had here for you today, guys. So, yeah. Have a good day.